honestly, I think checking something off on a checklist is the most therapeutic thing that I've ever experienced in my whole life. It's frankly fantastic. Hi everyone, my name is Abby and thank you so much for tuning in for this video. So today I'm going to be sharing with you, as you obviously saw, some tips about how to eliminate stress in your college experience, particularly for freshmen. But I just wanted to say that these tips absolutely apply to people from, honestly, from all walks of life, just to manage your stress in general, and also to any other person of any other age in college. So I just finished my freshman year at Notre Dame, so I feel like I'm a pretty good, things are pretty fresh. I think I know what I'm talking about a little bit, and I had a really good time. I'm actually a very stressy person, and I have been able to eliminate a lot of that stress in college. I think a lot in part due to these things that I collected for you all. So let's get started, and I hope you enjoy these tips. My first piece of advice would be not to stress about your dorm or your roommate or your living situation in general. I know that this is really targeted primarily at college freshmen, but I think if you're a sophomore, junior, senior, sometimes living situations change, so this can always be sort of an area of stress. And I know it seems like it's really at the forefront of everything because it's where you live, but I promise it will be okay even if this doesn't work out. I know if you maybe have a Facebook group or something where you were able to select your roommate, there's this pressure that you have to pick the right person and you have to be best friends, but seriously, you really don't have to. It will be okay. I'm lucky to have a wonderful roommate who I'm going to be living with next year, and I'm so grateful for that. But that definitely could not have been the case, and that would have been totally fine, because once you make that decision or you submit your random roommate application or whatever it is, you have to realize that that's done and there's really not much you can do about it. And when you come to that situation, if it is difficult, you just have to trust that you will have the tools to deal with it, and I promise it will be okay. You can make it work out. Even if it's difficult, you will get through it and you'll learn something from it. Then for your dorm room, I know there's a lot of pressure, especially on Pinterest and Instagram, to have this like beautiful aesthetic dorm room that looks like it just came out of Southern Living. I mean, I think a lot of people have probably seen that one where it's like the girls have matching monogram decals and maybe like a deer head over here and a beautiful amethyst sparkly couch. I don't even know what that is. What is amethyst? It just sounds fancy to me. You don't have to have that kind of dorm, and even if you want to, you don't have to worry so much about getting everything right away. I would just suggest getting the basics. I mean, I think as long as you have like some clothes and like a toothbrush and toothpaste and face wash, I mean, that's pretty much the bare basics. But other than that, I would say if you're worried about getting like the perfect cactus shaped humidifier, it's okay. Amazon Prime exists for a reason. So I would just say start planning how you want your room to look probably about like a month beforehand. I wouldn't say any earlier than that, otherwise you're probably going to get a little bit obsessed. But then that will give you an adequate amount of time to make sure that you can look at the right sales and you can order things if you need to, and then just pack it up and realize that once you get there, you can order more things. It's not a done deal, and there's always time to fix up your dorm room if you want to. My second tip for reducing stress is to learn time management, which is so important for everything. I think that the issue with this is that a lot of people don't learn it in high school, and then they get to college and they think, well, what am I supposed to do? I can just like do everything at 1 a.m. and it'll be fine. Well, no, in college, a lot of times they expect a higher standard of the work that you're turning in, so you need to have a better plan of how to go about it. So I know a lot of people say that for time management, what you should do is just start doing your assignments as soon as you get them, but let's be honest, like who's actually gonna do that? Have I ever really done that? No. If you feel inspired to do something, then do it. So let's say that you have like 2 things that are due. So maybe you have have a chem lab due on Thursday and you have an English paper due on Friday. If you sit down and you're really committed to doing work and you feel way more inspired to work on the English paper than the chem lab, even though the chem lab's due first, write the English paper, because chances are you're going to have a lot more enjoyable experience doing it. And I found that when I do this, I'm a lot more productive because it's something that I actually want to do. That being said, I would still recommend to try to stay about a day ahead on all of your assignments, because I think other than that, things can get really clogged up, and especially if you're trying to do extracurriculars, then it's going to be a bit difficult. So operate on a reasonable basis. My other tip for this is to push through when you're doing your work. I know that a lot of times I've seen it on Instagram so many times where people say like, my toxic trait is doing work for 20 minutes and giving myself a break for 7 hours. Well, it's time to break that behavior, because that is self-destructive. I mean, clearly, I think people can acknowledge that, but I think what you need to do is just commit to doing something. Say, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do my work right now, and just go and do it. You know, just do it. Shia LaBeouf. Thank you. You might think that you need a break, and maybe you will need a break. Maybe just take a very short 5-minute break, but chances are, I found this in myself. I used to be a person who thought she needed to take breaks all the time, but I came to realize that if I really just commit to it, I can work for a long time. So just push through and, you know, just say, I have a little bit more to do, I have a little bit more to do, and then eventually you'll get there. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's something that you build up endurance for, and I think it's a really important skill. So please test your mental endurance as you're trying to do your assignments. My next tip is to relax when it comes to making friends. And I know that sounds really general, but I will explain a little bit further. So by that, I mean to really let your guard down when you go to college. I know that's a really scary and vulnerable thing to do, but for me, it was a little bit easier to do this. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, because I'm absolutely not perfect at it. I think that what you need to realize in college is that chances are it's going to be a bigger group of people than you've been educated with before, and a lot of people aren't going to know you, and that sort of sense of anonymity is really nice because it makes you feel like, well, nobody has any expectations of me. In high school, it's easy to feel like you're put in a box, that people have these preconceived notions about you, and you need to be this particular way, fit in with this particular group. But chances are pretty much nobody has that for you when you go to college. For me, I know sometimes I have sort of natural defenses that creep up, like trying to be like overly, I don't know, perfect when I meet people and I feel nervous. But if you feel that happening, just take a deep breath and just try to relax and say, you know, I have nothing to prove. I have nobody that I need to impress. I'm enough, and I can just be myself, and it will be okay. I know it's really, really hard, but if you just tell yourself to relax and try to be yourself, I promise you will make progress with that. And also, I wanted to say, a lot of times I think people are afraid of being alone when they're studying or sitting alone in the dining hall or something, because in high school you have that expectation that like, oh, I need to go and sit with people when I'm in the lunchroom. In college, I'm serious, nobody cares. I think people are just a lot less judgmental in college because people are tired of that really childish way that people often act in high school, where they do categorize people. I guess I should expand on making friends a little bit more too. But when it comes to making friends, I acknowledge that it's maybe not going to be easy to find people right away. Again, I'm really lucky that I did find people almost right away, but it definitely might take time. But I promise, if you try to be yourself, it will be easier. And also try to find activities that really reflect what you want to do. In college, it's really about finding out who you are. So I think, as trite as that may seem, but I think it's really about doing things that you're interested in and creating a wide berth of activities, because that gives you more people to choose from also for friendships. And if people aren't welcoming or open at first, that's really okay, because I promise, keep looking. Eventually you will find your people. Even if it's difficult, I promise it will be worth it. My next tip is to get organized. That is seriously, I think it's the best stress reliever. It just makes you feel so productive, and it just makes you feel like your life is in order. It's a very beautiful feeling, but I seriously can't say it enough. Write things down. Write them down, because I think it's like an actual scientific fact that if you write things down, it helps you remember them more. So I'm kind of talking about this specifically with assignments. So I would really recommend to get a planner. Actually, I'll get my planner. Let me find it. I always get Lilly Pulitzer planners. I love these, and it's really nice because they have these little sections here where you can see I'm writing down all of my assignments for school. What I like to do is actually have a mix of both writing down and having virtual, what is that called? Online, electronic records of what I'm supposed to do. So basically I put all of my assignments in my assignment notebook or my planner, and then I put my events or rehearsals or practices or meetings or whatever into my Google Calendar. So I have both. It kind of helps me to categorize these different parts of my life. Make to-do lists, make checklists, and I promise that it feels really good. That's like super self-care. I think checking something off on a checklist is the most therapeutic thing that I've ever experienced in my whole life. It's frankly fantastic. And also be realistic with what you write down for yourself. When you're making a to-do list, don't put 30 things on there if you think you're only going to get 15 done. That's just gonna leave you feeling defeated. But when you're going somewhere like college where there's so many thoughts in your head and it's stressful, there's a lot that's going on, to eliminate that, I think what you really have to do is give yourself realistic goals, stick to them, and try to stay on task as much as possible. And I really think that writing things down, it takes them off your mind, it puts them on paper or on a screen, and you can just feel a little bit more calm about that. Or calmer. I think it's calmer. I really should know grammar. Yeah. My fifth and final tip is to not be afraid to ask for help. I know it's really difficult when you go to college. It's this really big taste of independence and you feel like you need to do it all on your own, but I promise you don't, and I really don't recommend that you do that. So let's say you're having trouble with a class. We'll just start with that. I think that a really effective thing to do is just ask people around you who are maybe in the same classes, or even better, somebody who's already taken the class and has done well in it. That's always a great way to get help. People always say to form study groups, but I'm like, where do you find these study groups? But I think also trying to talk to people from your classes, maybe somebody who says something really insightful, or you thought that they were really nice and you sat next to them, that's another way to help you make friends too. And it's really great when you can allow somebody else to teach you something, because it helps them to understand it better, and it also helps them to feel a little bit more confident because they're able to help somebody else. They feel like they really know and can master the material. I would also highly recommend going to office hours. I know that this is kind of a basic thing that probably everybody says, but I think professor office hours are great, especially if it's a smaller class. But if it's a really big class, I would recommend going to TA office hours if you have them, because a lot of times there will be less people at the TA office hours. You can develop a relationship with your TA so you can ask them questions. It might help you to get some more individualized attention and not feel like you're drowning in this sea of 5 million classmates, because you know, that's a lot. Trust me, I know, I took Gen Chem. It was a time. And overall, I just wanted to say that college is a lot, and please don't think that you have to do it alone. If you want to talk to people at college that you trust, that's great. But if you also don't feel like you have those kinds of people at college, feel free to go talk to a family member, a friend from home, anybody. People who are close to you and who really love you will understand that this is a stressful time, and I think they'll want to help you, probably because they miss you and they want you to be having a good time wherever you are. So, in conclusion, I feel like I'm writing a 6th grade creative writing essay. But anyway, I think that you should just take a deep breath and enjoy your summer, because it's really not worth it to get so stressed out about college, because I think it's a really great time. It's a special time. You probably won't have anything else like it in your life, and it's something that I hope you really enjoy. Even if it's hard at first, I promise it gets better, and it's really worth it to work at it and try to optimize your experience. So I hope these tips really helped you out with that. And please let me know if you want me to do any other college-related content, maybe anything more specific to time management, or what you need to bring for your dorm, or just if you like these kinds of videos in general. Like, I'm really trying a lot of different stuff right now, not really sure what's landing, so I would really appreciate any sort of feedback that you have. And again, I'm Abby. Thank you so much for checking out my video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you liked this video, and I will see you very soon. Bye!